Hello and welcome to another video. In this video I'm going to show you how to install xDebug 3 and PHP 8 within a Docker container and connect xDebug with PHPStorm. Now firstly, I recommend reading over the documentation for upgrading from xDebug 2 to 3 just to gain an understanding of the changes and the new features that are available. And I also recommend reading over the xDebug settings documentation. Now, neither of those are required to follow along with this tutorial because I'm going to show you exactly what you need to do to install xDebug and get it working with PHPStorm. But I recommend reading over them. Right, so I'm going to clone this repository. This is a GitHub repo and it is public, so you will also be able to clone it. And I'm going to start the Docker containers. Right, I'll just briefly explain what I'm doing here. So I'm creating a variable named myIP and assigning an IP address to it. And if I show you the project, so if you open the project in PHPStorm, I've already got it open. But if you haven't, of course you won't have because you've only just cloned it. Open up PHPStorm, just go to File, Open, and navigate to the projects folder and open it. Then if we open up the docker-compose file, we can see we are using the myIP environment variable to set the value of the xDebug config client_host setting. So that is why we have to set that environment variable. Now, if you're not using a Mac, then this command will not be available to you, this IP config command. So what you'll need to do is find out an IP address that has been assigned to your host. If you're using Linux, then you can use the ifconfig command, or if you're using Windows, then you can just consult. If you don't know how to find an IP address that's assigned to your host, then just consult Google and you'll be able to find out some documentation that explains how to do it. If you cannot do it from a single command, like I'm doing here, so you can see here I've got I'm running a sub command and that returns a single IP address. If you can't do it this way, then just obtain the IP address however you're going to obtain it and assign it directly to the myIP variable. So replace what I've got here, what I've highlighted here on the screen, with the IP address that you've obtained however you have obtained it. Then I'm running docker-compose up-d, so it starts the Docker containers in the background. Right, now the Docker containers have started. So before I send a request to them via a browser, before I send a request for one of the files within the project via the browser, I'll briefly explain some of the files that I've got here. So you can see here, we're using the php.docker file, this one here, to create the image for the PHP FPM container. So if I open up that Docker file, we can see it's extending the PHP image with the 8.0.0-fpm tag, and it's just got a couple of directives, or a few directives. So I say first is copying a couple of files, the php.ini file and xdebug.ini file into the container, and then it's installing xdebug and enabling it. Now I'm going to open up the xdebug.ini file, and we can see here we are setting the client port to 9000. We are setting the mode to debug and profile. So what that means is that we are so the debug mode means that we'll be able to step through our code. We'll be able to create a debug session and step through our code, and the profile mode means that we'll be able to profile our code, which will then create files that we can use. We can analyze with a tool such as xcachegrind. Next, we've got the start with request directive. What this means, when this is set to yes, what it means is that at the beginning of a PHP request, before any PHP code is run, whatever modes we specified will be activated. So for us, the debug mode will be activated and the profiling mode will be activated. And finally, we got the output_dir directive, and that sets the directory that files are stored in when our code is profiled. Okay, so now that I've explained that, I'm going to open up the index.php file, and actually before I do that, I'm going to configure some settings in PHPStorm. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the navigation bar at the top of the page, then click on PHPStorm, Preferences and Debug, and we want to ensure that the debug port is set to 9000, which is the same value we specified in the xdebug settings. And we want to make sure that we have a server set up. So I've already got one set up, but you won't. So what you want to do is, in fact, I'll delete that just so I can show you the process. So once that's what you do is you'll click the plus button and then give it a name, localhost, and a host, the port of 80, and the debugger of is xdebug. And then we're going to use path mappings because we've got the web app running in a Docker container. We need to map the a folder on the host to a folder within the Docker container. So we're going to map the root folder for the project to the var/var/www folder in the container. Right, now that we've done that, I'm going to set a breakpoint and in the index.php file, and then I'm going to open the browser and send a request to the web app. So yeah, so we can see now that I've sent that request, a debug session has started and we can step through our code. Okay, yeah, so that's how we can see now that xdebug is that we've that the debugging part of xdebug is working, and we can also see that a file has been created by the profiler. So this is the file that we'll be able to analyze in a tool such as xcachegrind to check that there are no bottlenecks within our code base. So that's it. That is how you install xDebug 3 and PHP 8 within a Docker container and connect xDebug to PHPStorm. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, and you know someone else that would find it useful, I'd appreciate it if you could like and share the video with them. And for more videos like this, you should subscribe to my channel. Until next time, take care.